Welcome to Rooted and Rising. I'm Kelly Beckert, here with my co-host, Melissa Ordaz.
Hello.
If you haven't been here before, Rooted and Rising is a podcast dedicated to creating a space for Christ followers to share their God stories. Our verse comes from Psalm 66:16. Come and listen, all you who fear the Lord, and I'll tell you all that he's done for me. And as we've started this podcast week after week, talking to people, hearing their stories, honestly has been a highlight for me.
For sure. Every guest just has such amazing God stories, such great nuggets of wisdom. It's exciting every time.
So. I know. And I'm excited about today's guest.
For sure.
Are you?
I'm very excited. We wanted to try and play our game right at the start, though, to just kind of loosen us up a little bit. So we have our As Heard on the Playground.
I love these.
Sometimes, like I said, sometimes they have nuggets of wisdom in them, or sometimes they're just fun and silly. So these are our As Heard on the Playground kid quotes. Are you ready for the first one?
Yes.
And I think there's a second one you can read.
Okay.
It was Monday, and I was getting my kids ready for school, and my son says, "Monday again? I can't keep doing this." That is so funny. I have felt that sentiment several times before.
How old are you though when you start to feel that way? That is so funny.
That's a good point.
A kid.
I don't know.
I mean, your brother was in third grade before I think he knew the days of the week in order. So
yeah, so it has to be after that. All right, you do the second one.
Let me see. This is from a Heights parent, actually.
Okay.
One evening, as I was having all my kids sit down to complete their homework, my daughter asked, "Why do we have to do homework? Does Jesus like homework?" I don't think he does.
I like where that's going though, right? Like talking about the theology of homework. Like, what do we...
Does Jesus like homework?
Oh, I don't know if we have time for that conversation right now, but I like where that student is going. Good questions.
That's so funny. I'm excited about today's guest. So he is someone that I got to work with for a very long time. It's Claud Lamar. Anyone that's been around Heights for any period of time definitely knows that name. He is recently retired, but he is our former president and CEO with a long, rich history of contributions to ministry throughout the years. And he is someone that I got to work closely with for many years, who I count as a friend. And I'm just so excited. You know, when we started talking about this podcast anyway, right? Mm-hmm. I think I've shared a little bit of this story before, but it was all around the Jubilee Legacy project that we're working on. And I was in a conversation with Claude and with Jason McCleary, who's also going to be a guest on the podcast soon. And we were at lunch and we were talking about specifics around the Jubilee Legacy project. We were talking specifics about how we had seen God over the years and just the amazing, like as you see those circles close and you recognize that what's happening now is part of something so much bigger that's God is doing. And you don't always know it until much later. And sometimes you maybe never even see it all come together. But it was at this lunch and I was at a round table and I was sitting there kind of across from Claude and Jason. And as they were talking about the really rich history of Heights and all that God had accomplished through Heights and even before Heights through Brethren and Whittier Christian Schools. And I was like, this should be a podcast. Like this should be something that we could capture and share so that it lives on and that people will continue to be able to gather together and testify about God's faithfulness and his goodness. And you know, the reality that God is able to do so much when you're willing to make space, where you're just actually willing to like watch and see what he will do. And so that was kind of the impetus behind all of this shenanigans and, you know, As Heard on the Playground and all the other things that we've tried to do to make it be fun. But it was really from the beginning. And so I'm just so super excited to invite him to come join us. Are we ready to do that?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're taking a quick break to tell you about something we think every young family should know. If you're a parent of a little one, newborn through 6 years old, Heights Christian Schools is here to partner with you. Our preschools offer safe, loving environments where faith, learning, and play go hand in hand. With locations across Southern California, you'll find a campus that feels like home. Learn more at heightschristianschools.org, and let's grow together. Now back to the conversation. Welcome back. Will you help me welcome our guest, Claud Lamar?
Thank you.
Happy to have you here. So I mentioned that you are retired, living the good life, as I understand it.
Trying to.
Former president and CEO of Heights Christian Schools. I don't think I said he continues to serve on our board as an active member still. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And so how are you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. It's been almost a year and a half of retirement, trying to find new routines and
Good.
new ways to stay busy.
Mm-hmm. Well, you are missed around here, that's for sure. We're going to start with a few silly questions and then we'll hop into our top 10.
Okay. So this first one is silly, but hard hitting as well. So how do you feel about ranch dressing?
Well, that's a profound one to start with.
It is. I mean, sorry to throw you in the deep end there.
Ranch dressing. I did not grow up eating ranch dressing. It wasn't something on our menu, but our kids did.
Okay.
Ranch dressing with carrot sticks was like a go-to in our house.
You want better for your kids,
both
right?
The boys. I don't know. They liked it. So I guess they probably got it served at school too. So they probably just.
No, I'm saying you didn't have it, so you were able to provide that for your kids. Yeah.
But I eat ranch dressing.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you'll get it on a wrap or something like that. I have no problem with ranch.
All right, good.
It's not my go-to dressing though.
Ranch.
What is your go-to dressing?
Or either a vinaigrette or maybe a light Caesar or something.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Fair. All right. Do you want to ask the second one?
Yeah,
for me?
go ahead.
Is it going to get harder than that?
A little bit.
All right. If you had to remove one letter from the alphabet, which would it be and why? You have to.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Which
V.
Way? Okay.
Ooh, why V?
Because you can always harden the W and make it sound like a V, so you wouldn't be really missing anything.
That's a good answer.
Great answer. By far the best answer we've ever had on that question.
She's the only other one we've had answered, though. But yes, your answer was
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
Right.
I think he's ready. Let's dig deep.
You've warmed me up enough.
We're warmed up enough. Okay. Well, it's called Rooted and Rising. Let's start with your roots. Let's talk a little bit about where did you grow up and how did that shape your view of God?
I grew up in Tennessee. Did
you notice that you have a little twang when you say, I grew up in Tennessee?
Well, if you really want to hear a twang, get me talking to my sister or someone who lives there, and then my wife tells me if I'm on the phone with my sister, she can always tell I'm on the phone with my sister because my accent will come out. But I've traveled and I've lived in a lot of places. And so, you do lose most of it over time.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Tennessee. I'm a pastor's kid. And so I grew up in the church. It was a blessing, although I don't think I appreciated it at the time. Being the only boy and the youngest in my family, I think I took a lot of things for granted. But grew up in Tennessee, in the Bible Belt, spent a lot of time. I mean, we lived at church. It was just, and as a being in a pastor's home, your home's always open. And so your whole world revolves around that. Now, and so I think that was my basis. I mean, that's how I grew up, and that's what my expectation of how family life and church life was intertwined. And so, yeah, that's it.
So it sounds like, God was a very present part of your life since you can remember, right?
Since I can remember, yeah.
Do you remember when you decided to give your life to Christ?
I don't. I don't remember early on. I think early on, there was some point, but I don't remember like when was it. I think it was early on. And as I said earlier, I think I sort of took it for granted for many years. I remember very specifically when I felt like I rededicated my life when I was in college and met people who challenged me to be, to really have my faith be more overt and more outward facing and not so internally. But I think that's a pretty common story with PKs.
Sure. Yeah.
And but that I do remember.
Yeah, I feel like for me, similar, not as a pastor's kid, but just in a Christian family growing up, I have a similar way. I don't exactly remember, but I feel like there is such a gift in that, right? Like it's just, we've always known God has just always been a part of our daily living. And I feel like there is something so beautiful in that. So, yeah.
Well, I think you definitely, when there is a point in time, whether it's as a new believer or as an existing believer who is come to some epiphany in their faith, that it's impactful.
Yeah,
How many people do we know, working in Christian ministry that have grown up in the ministry and it never really catches. They take it for granted and they just kind of drift away. And so I think it's important that at some point in time that you make a very overt recommitment or first-time commitment to the Lord and allow Him to do His work in you in a more open way.
And for you, that was in college, you said?
I was in college.
Yeah. And are there people that you would point to that helped you pay attention to God or know how to pay attention to God in your life?
Yeah, I think, being a pastor's kid, you can't help to say that, it was your father. It was my father, and I would stand by him. I know he worked at his desk. He'd work on his sermons, in his lessons. He also, taught adult Bible class during those times. That was common. And so, I would stand there and ask him, like, why, what are you saying here? What are you trying to get accomplished? And I think that was an opportunity for me to see the thought process of how it comes alive. It's not just on paper. It's not just, but, and I think that was important. I also think that later in life, like in college, that I was really lucky to be challenged by running into people and become friends with people who didn't just accept my casual faith and really challenged me to be more overt and to practice it more overtly. And there was a couple of people and that I really do appreciate. Yeah.
And did you seek those people out? God brought them to you. How did they come into your life?
No, definitely. I did not seek them out. It's one was a youth pastor that wasn't a whole lot older than me, and we became workout buddies. And we went on to get married. He counseled us, married us. We were really good friends for many, many years. And so I think that was a really important one. And then I had a couple other people as well that were in that same sphere of relationships that also challenged me.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. What a blessing. I mean, that happened. And as it turned out, my wife was brought into that sphere of people as well, early in our relationship. And then, and stayed there after we got married when we were young marrieds. So we had the benefit of that as well.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. What do you think is a habit or hobby you do that feels amazingly sacred?
I don't think I have a hobby that feels sacred. Habit is maybe one. Interestingly, this is one that would come up in devotions, when I was here over and over again. I think that that we can be, a form of worship is how do you revere the Lord even internally in the things you do every day. And one of the things is looking to do the right thing even when no one even knows. And not so that you can take pride in it, but it can become a moment of like, thank you, Lord, that you've put on my heart to be that way. And how do I turn this into a way of being able to come before you, and worship you. And I just think that you find little ways in your life, that to be able to do that, like not, cussing under your breath at the person who just cut you off in the car on the way to work that morning.
Why are you pointing at me?
The reason I'm pointing to her is because there was sort of a long-going joke in our devotions and she was in those devotions. I thought she might remember that.
I was going to say,
I won't mention the person that we were harassing, but we had fun with one of the younger staffers that admitted to doing something like that, and I got a lot of mileage out of. But it is true. It's like, how do you respond in the circumstances in your life? Mm-hmm. The good ones, the bad ones, the indifferent. To me, that shows how Christ is living in you.
Yeah.
How do you respond to the people that are stinky to you, or the people that are kind and loving? It's like, or in just the things that happen. We as Christians, we don't want to be pushed to and fro by the circumstances in life. We want to be on an even keel, keeping our focus on the Lord and not allowing the other stuff, even the important stuff, the illnesses, the deaths, the big things, but also the stinky driver that just cut you off in the car. All those things. I just think that's one of the ways that we internally can worship the Lord, and honor him.
But is there a habit? Like, what was your habit? Was there a habit or something that you did that helps train you to make those choices and those decisions?
I want to throw out a possible answer for you based on something you already said.
Sure.
Is you said your workout buddy. It kind of started there. And I feel like just in other conversation, I've heard you talk about that. And I feel like that actually has seemed to be a catalyst for a lot of different ways you've encountered God or encountered people who God has used.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that rings true at all.
Anybody who's spending any time in a gym knows all about it and about that. And I've quickly become the clean gene in the gym, over the years. I've been a gym rat all my life. And so it definitely, that's an opportunity. And it's not only an opportunity to worship the Lord, but it's an opportunity to demonstrate to other people that, Christians aren't, a bunch of, weak fawning people, that we can be strong athletes and we can get a lot done, but we don't have to have the foul mouth, and we don't have to talk about stuff that we shouldn't be talking about or whatever. And I think that it doesn't take very long being in a gym with people on a regular basis for them to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what you hope is that they see that you're different, not because of anything. They see you're different because Christ lives in you. And that they get that, and that they want to be a part of that, or they want to know why that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think when you think about a lifestyle where you fit in the gym, right? So you're devoted, committed, you're serious about it. So there's that part that gives credibility to their world. Yep. And so then they're intrigued, right? Because it's they want to be like you, but then there's this part that's so different. And what is that?
Right.
No, that's so cool. Well, you and I we've been through a lot in ministry, and I know a lot of things in your life for the last probably 20 years, but I'm curious, would you talk about a pivotal moment in your faith journey, something that happened in your life that really helped kind of shape or change your walk, your relationship, who you are today?
Right. I really felt like I matured as a Christ follower, even after I was in ministry. I felt like that was the opportunity. I worked with people. Yeah. I started working with people that were so godly. I had a chance to interact with them and to do devotions with them, spend time with people every single day. And to me, I learned the importance of appreciating other people. Whereas, I was always a hard charger and, fix it myself. I'm the fixer, right? And rely on yourself. That's the old quarterback person in me, right? You have to lead it right out front. But I also think along the way you kind of you're a bully in some ways. You bully other people that maybe aren't as hard charging, but have just as much to contribute. And in ministry, we're surrounded by a variety of people, many of which are incredibly insightful with their faith, and that can add a lot, but you have to take time. Take time to get to know them. Take time to listen, see them operate. And I think that, I think I was probably in my early 40s before, I really felt like that I appreciated that. And I think it wasn't a specific moment, but it's a specific time. It was a season where I felt like I understood more that, we're all made in God's image. We all are so different, but so much the same. And that having appreciation for that, I really felt like I grew in my faith and relied less on me and more on the Lord. And I think that was the pivotal point. Is, as we've talked a lot, waiting on the Lord.
Yeah.
Having faith that don't get out in front of the Lord all the time. Do I have skills that I've been blessed with as He allowed them to grow? But He's allowed them to grow in a community and also count on other people and don't get out in front of Him. Let Him do His work sometimes. And I that was a lesson I didn't learn until, I was already been a parent for many, many years and a husband for many, many years. But I think I learned that because I was able to work in an environment with a lot of faithful followers of Christ around me.
That's good. That's good. I'm still learning that. It's honestly, I think it's Psalm 27.
We've had this conversation a few times.
Well, because I don't think you ever master it, right?
No.
It's and I think it's Psalm 27, although you might want to fact check that. But recently I took pause. I think it's Psalm 27:1, but the verse says, wait patiently for the Lord, be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently. And sandwiched in between the wait patiently is be brave and courageous. And I think it takes so much courage and so much bravery to actually not get out in front of it, not to feel like it's going to fall apart. Like you have to trust God enough and be courageous enough to sit in that thing you feel like the fixer wants to fix, right? But when you make space for God, then you experience what's more than you could have done, right? And so
that's such a great verse, because brave and courageous, I feel like you usually hear it in the sense of go and
right.
Yeah.
And that's it takes courage to stop and wait.
More courage
Lord.
than to go.
No, I know.
Oftentimes, yeah.
And the thing is, as you and I both know, when you sit in the CEO chair, you're expected to have the answers. You're expected to be able to clearly define the path.
Right.
And so the pressure to act and to be that leader all the time is always there. A day doesn't go by when you're not challenged in that way. But waiting on the Lord is the faithful thing to do, and it demonstrates to all the people that you work with, that we're still focused on the Lord. We're not just educators. We want to be good educators. We want to be great educators.
Right.
Okay. But we also want to be faithful and demonstrate to staff, their families, and also to the families that we serve that Christ is first and foremost. Hard to do.
Hard to do.
That's why you're in that
said,
seat.
Though.
But can I say one more thing about this? I really appreciate you guys being so transparent about God continuing to work on these things in your life, because as much as I hear it as, again, just a slightly younger person, as much as I hear it, there's always a sense of I should have known this by now, right? Or I feel like, and I just feel like that constant reminder of no, God is so faithful to continue working on us, and that there's not an expiration date on that is really encouraging. So yeah, that's true. I don't know why that makes me misty.
As we've said before, we've talked to each other before, that sometimes saying out loud that you don't know what to do next is right where God wants you to be.
Right. No. And to your point, I think there's a lot of pressure that you're supposed to have all the answers. And that's what Claude was saying too. And it's just not true. It's none of us know. And being courageous enough to not only wait, but to, walk in that truth of, I'm not exactly sure. I often, and you've heard me say this a million times, I'm never sure where I'm going to land, but I always end up where I'm meant to be. And it's just taking that next step. So I'm not often the one that says, I know for sure in 22 days, God's taking us here, right? But I am often very confident I know the next step. And I think I'm headed there. But, you never know what God's going to do. And, the hardest part is not to be so locked into what you think the outcome should be that you miss what his best would have been, right? And I think that that's a lifelong lesson.
And I think circling back to the question we started with.
Thank you.
Yeah, but that's the pitfall that you have as a young adult, young believer, when you have financial pressures and professional pressures, raising children, learning to live with a spouse. I mean, just like that, all those pressures as a young. It's easy to miss that lesson. It's a go world that you're in, and it's easy to miss those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the next question is, what part of your faith has taken the longest to grow roots? Maybe we've touched on that a little bit.
And this is one of the things I talked about earlier, is that I think it's similar, that the learning to trust other people and to wait, that we're in a community, and that community can provide a lot. And it's just not all about me moving ahead. It's trusting the people, waiting on the Lord, not feeling like you've got to fix it right in the moment.
One of the things that I quote you a lot on, and like one of the things that I carry with me that I think I learned from you and was really solidified through all the years of ministry with you, is the simple phrase that grace always wins. And I think being intentional about choosing to be gracious, because it's something you never regret, right? Like you regret almost every other response, but being gracious, you don't. And I watched you live that and walk that out like every single day through really great seasons and through really hard seasons. And
thanks. I do think that, again, that goes back to maturing as a Christian. I think that we all want to be gracious. We all know that that reflects Christ to the world, but it's hard. For all those reasons I talked about as a young adult. I think that's part of that maturing process, is that you want to do it, and maybe you do it most of the time, but as you mature and as you gain more and more confidence in it, then it becomes easier. I think that's part of getting old.
You're not old. Don't say that. Okay. So I'll let you answer this next one, or I could give it a whirl.
Yeah, we could just keep going with her answers for you.
They're good. She's way more articulate than me.
Okay, the next one is, what's something you've unlearned in your faith, and what has replaced it?
I think those are along the same lines.
Really?
I do. I think not relying on myself.
Okay.
I think the fixer in me, and always being successful. Like, I can pull that off and pull it off. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. That I think that's the life lesson, is that doesn't get you very far.
Okay, so as a fellow fixer, do you have practical advice that I could take home? So in those moments where I'm getting overwhelmed in the desire to fix, do you have any tips, tricks, practical advice?
I do.
Please.
I think one of the things that young families need to do is, I think routines are important. And I think routines like eating at the dinner table, and having an expectation at the dinner table that there's going to be exchange, that your kids just can't sit down and eat and then run off to do homework or whatever, that there's got to be an exchange. And not necessarily putting guardrails on the exchange necessarily, but I think that's a big one, is there's got to be family time. You can't always be eating drive-through on the way to soccer practice, or whatever it is. It's like there's got to be, at some point you have to say no to things in order to have that time. I just think that to stop, to breathe, to slow down, to set aside, paying the bills, that stress, or debriefing whatever little disagreement you just had, with your spouse, like those things, they're all going to happen. It's all going to come through, but making time for family and breathing and other little things like that, like never playing music in the car.
Okay.
time in the car. My children are older, 40s and 30s, and they're like, the thing they remember most is driving to school in the morning. And the conversations we would have, the prayer time that we would have. When they got their driver's licenses and we made them drive because they were athletes, and it's a chance. I don't have to drive you to practice anymore at 5 a.m. That's the thing they miss the most. Is they miss the time, the talk and get questions answered, the prayer time that we had. Because if the kids were in the car, we didn't put anything on the radio or anything. I know that's a foreign concept these days.
Well, it's so wild because not that long ago, and I mean, I hate to be the one to bring up COVID, but one of the benefits during COVID, one of the things I think was like a win was it forced everybody to slow down. Like there weren't a lot of places that you could be running out to. And so, during that season, we would take walks. We would take long walks as a family. And like, we haven't done that in a long time, right? It's like you were forced to like, quote unquote, the good old days when there weren't so many things, rallying for our attention, and just like to have some space to be quiet and to think and to communicate and all that.
It just reminded me that, because you read through the Bible each year, and it reminded me that I did that a couple of times with each of my boys. And the debrief of the reading was in the car in the mornings.
Love that.
We only did it twice with each of the boys, but that was our time to both share what we had read and kind of debrief that. And that was really a valuable time as well.
Well, I feel like that maybe, I'll still ask the question, but that also kind of answers this question. What's something small, ordinary, or mundane that recently reminded you of who God is? So maybe we'll focus on the recently part, because maybe that's a little bit more.
I don't want to be like morbid, but I mean, you get to a certain age and people have illnesses and pass away. I mean, I look around at, friends of mine that I went to high school or college with that, that haven't been healthy, and many of them have passed away. And I see and unfortunately, in a lot of them, the emptiness, they didn't know the Lord.
Yeah.
And these aren't people that I necessarily, see at all, really. It's more you hear the news, or you go to a funeral, or you do a visit to the hospital, and you try to share, but you see that they don't have hope. And you see the effect it has on them. And a lot of times it's not something they even think about until they're in that dire situation. And it's just sad. It's so sad. And you walk away from that, questioning whether or not you've done everything you can with that particular person, or going away and praying that something either that you said or someone else is going to say or whatever, might have some sort of impact either on them or their families that are around. I think that's one. And then not so recently, my wife, Marcella, had a scare with cancer. And it brought us closer together, and it also gave us an opportunity to, how are we going to deal with this? I mean, this was a serious, episode. And how do we deal with this? How does Christ want us to deal with this? And whenever the doctors that we saw or the nurses that we saw or whatever, that we wanted to not be rattled, not be shaken, display our faith, be even killed along the way. And to me, that was a real growth opportunity for both of us, and also for our marriage, even though we were old marrieds by then. But and it's amazing how it brings the best. It often brought a lot of the best out of other people. And I saw a lot of other people who then were in healthcare people that were willing to share their faith because the door was open.
Yeah.
And you think, well, maybe that emboldens them more and more to share their faith, even necessarily when they're encouraged to by other believers.
Yeah.
But I think those are impactful.
Well, and I think they go hand in hand, right? Of just that. It's so, I sometimes find myself forgetting that Christ is just our ever-present hope, and that realizing that, if you don't have him, to your point, life is so hopeless. You know what I'm saying? And there are so many situations, and I feel like, you guys were able to walk through that because you had that hope that you always, that anchored you even in the midst of that storm. And that's so powerful.
And I think it's not only eternal hope, which is obviously is important, but I think the freedom that we have as Christians. I mean, I think that we don't live scared. And we talked a lot about that during COVID, about how people are paralyzed by fear. Their fear of their mortality or fear of, whatever's out there. And I think as Christians, we don't have to live in that fear. Like if the Lord takes us, you miss your family, you miss your kid, you miss those things, but they're going to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, you don't have to live in fear all the time. Right. That's so liberating.
So interesting. I almost feel like you want to find that middle ground. Obviously, you don't want to live in fear of any type, but I almost feel like we are we're healthier Christ followers when we're aware of our mortality, right? Like where you're aware of every day actually matters and you have a limited number of everydays. Yeah. And, we're in a similar vibe where, you get closer to the end than the beginning, and to the somewhat younger people, it seems like slightly younger people, it seems a little bit morbid, but it's not morbid. It's like the reality that I don't have time to waste on nonsense, right? It's like, that you're closer to the end than the beginning. And the regrets that you don't want to have is you don't want to get to a point where you wish you would have tried, whatever. I wish I would have, right? And to me, that is like one of the benefits of being aware of your mortality is like, no, actually, when you're younger, you think you have forever, and it's really easy to be lost in the monotony of today, right? And not really stop and think about, like, is this how I want to invest this day that God's given me? Like, is this what I'm here for? And I think there's a lot of freeing in that, because I think that it lets you throw to the wayside a lot of the stuff that makes it feel so heavy to carry, because it's not really what matters anyway.
Well, the visual I always see is just like two hands. And I feel like there's always, the truth of the darkness and the heaviness and all of that we deal with, right? We can't say it's not there, right? It is part of, and yet God's hope is so equal and above and able to match all of those things. And I feel like holding those two complete opposites is impossible in our own strength. And so to me, it's always that reminder of like, I know, God, you're calling me to hold both of these equally, but I have to do that in your strength. And that's the visual God always gives me.
Good.
So
that's a good one. I like that. Yeah. Okay, well, we're coming right down to the end. So we've talked a lot about your roots. And so we want to talk about just your faith rising. And I think if you were going to have one reminder about who God is, like one word that you would want to leave us with about who God is.
Well, I think you mentioned it earlier, grace.
You're giving him the answers again.
It's okay. We know each other pretty well, so it's hard to get away from it. But I think that that's where I would land.
God
and I
is
think
grace.
that I think so. I think that learn to be gracious. You may have an opinion about everything, but you don't need to spout out everything. You can be all your disagreements and all your words of wisdom all the time. Sometimes you just be gracious about it.
Yeah.
And I think that not only for your benefit, but I think again that kind of gets back to kind of a form of worship. It's like, you know what? I can set myself aside if it means I can lift other people up, all in the name of the Lord. And so maybe every time you do it, Christ doesn't come into it. But you never know. You never know. You never know what just being kind, being gracious, being polite to people, what effect it has. I don't know. In any circumstances, I think of a lot of just minor ones that go throughout the day that just be gracious with people.
I feel like on the days we're able, or the moments we're able to live that out, God just, I feel like meets us in that place of realizing like, what a great way to be a witness to the world, right? For me, they're short-lived moments.
But you get to carry it. Like, I mean, think about the other side of that. Like, every one of us probably knows what it feels like to experience grace.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
To be in that space where you weren't your best and someone is gracious, right? And what a gift that is to you and how that feels. And to me, when you recognize that God is grace and when you extend that grace, like you experience that. So it really isn't so much for the other person. I mean, it's for the person and it's for the world, but like you experience like walking out who actually God is in your life.
Can you imagine if on social media, people were gracious instead of so judgmental and authoritarian? It's like, wouldn't the world be different? And we wouldn't, and things that our kids would see, our grandkids would see, and it's just, it can't be too much grace.
Yeah,
I think it's in short supply.
Well, I think, like I said before, I've always seen you. I haven't always seen you to be gracious, actually.
No, and I agree.
I've seen you grow in grace,
I
right?
agree.
And when I watch you say grace always wins, it had so much impact on me because of the credibility of me watching that growth and that shift in you. Because you are such an intelligent person. You're one of the smartest people. And
I think it's hard to be gracious when you are so intelligent.
I was just going to say that, you know, it really, really is.
Yeah.
And so like you are such a smart person and such a hardworking person, and you've experienced so much success legitimately, than to be around other people and to be gracious in those circumstances where you could just like set everybody straight. And maybe you tried.
Did at one time.
I barely remember those days.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I remember one of the first times when I first met you, my goal in my head, because I'm goofy, my goal is like, I just want to make this guy smile. Like I remember like, because goofy was not really your jam at that point in time, at least not at work and the way I
learned to be goofy.
You got good at it. But I remember thinking, I just want to make him smile. I want to make him laugh, you know. But I remember those early attempts and how you would look at me because you're so smart. And you'd look at me like, are you for real right now? I'm like, this is a joke. It's a joke.
And now look at him. We're asking about ranch dressing.
Now this is a full circle moment. I want to say, honestly, thank you for being here today. I know, you know, I was really looking forward to it. And I'm even more excited about the bonus episode. So that's going to be coming up next. You know, around these parts, we talk about Claud as one of the last living historians. Like you've lived through a lot, you know a lot, you saw God do a lot. And I'm super excited for our next episode where we'll come back and touch base on all those things. But we're going to wind up this episode. So again, just thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your heart and your candor. And for all of you, we pray that you'll continue to stay rooted and rising until next time. Do you have a funny kid in your life? Do you have a funny story that you'd like to share with us? If so, send it to the Rooted and Rising podcast and look forward to hearing it on a future episode.